Hello, guys. My name is Josh, an aspiring indie developer, probably most like you guys. I'm actually going to college for video game design development. I used to be in the military. I was in the Army for a long time. Well, 4 years is not considered a long time, I'd say. But that's pretty much a bit about me. And I'd like to go over two little tools that I kind of created just to see if anybody else may need to use them as well. So a little bit about these things. They're two separate tools, the Post Map tool and the Doge tile editor. The Post Map tool basically takes textures and meshes them together, blends them in, being able to make quite a few interesting combinations. I'll just load something very quick to show you guys a quick look into that real quick. So let's go back one here, load a texture set. I'm going to go over to downloads and we'll click on I should click the tutorial for PostMap probably. So we can see how this meshes in together a little bit. It's actually a mix of three different textures here. And these textures for this example have been provided and sold by a person named Northside on itch.io. And they're actually the person I got inspiration in making this tool about when I saw pretty cool pictures of how they made these parallax maps on their asset packs. I thought, hey, I wish I could do more things like a digital artist, but I just kind of suck at it. So maybe I can make something that will do something similar. So that's pretty much how I did that. But if you guys ever get the chance, definitely check out Northside. They make some very cool, interesting textures, and I really appreciate their help. Okay, back to it. So let's start by going over the tool itself. So each texture is basically a band, okay? And these bands coming together make a biome. And you could have a lot and a lot and a lot of different bands to make more complex and interesting textures. The default is three, but you can add, I think, up to about 100. And it gets kind of crazy depending on how many textures you actually want to load in to mix together. But we're going to go over the global settings. Then we're going to go into the biome section. Then we're going to go into the about layouts, the tile map, and then we'll talk about the tools inside a PostMap tool and what they do. So going over the global section here, we have a few different options. At the very top on the feature size, we have a blob scale. Blobs are just basically kind of like a section of how these kind of parse out. So if we have really tiny blobs, you get a lot smaller looking patchy areas compared to bigger blobs. As we can see that these get quite big. You get more detailed with the smaller ones. You also have the option to give it a little bit more scale. Now you can pair this scale bar here by also pairing up the export resolution, because the higher the resolution, the more detail you're going to get in this preview. And that gets quite uh, extensive depending on how you want to actually get into it. So you can play around with these bars, the sliders, and see what you like best. But these are just some examples of kind of how they work. The output resolution will also be what generates when you do chunks and you save your tile maps. Noise octaves basically emphasize more of the finer details. As you can see, it's very flat looking, kind of like a line. And the noise going up higher will actually add more depth and mixing to it. It goes up to 8. And below that is going to be persistence, which adds finer details. The higher this is, the more finer detail it kind of gets. And the lower it is, the less detailed. You can see a pretty big difference in there. Feathering is just how much the biomes can blend in each other. You may want to play around with this if you have really harsh looking biomes that kind of clash more with each other. And the grid export down here, I'll go into the paint biome map, which is the giant island generator and giant space where you can really make bigger textures and materials and stuff like that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But just know the save per band weight map doesn't work at the moment because I was experimenting with making 3D objects out of 2D textures and having a weight map, but it's just a little bit too much for now. So hopefully I'll come back to that a little bit later when that gets a little bit closer to getting finished. All right, so that's pretty much it for the general section. Go to biomes. So biomes are your bread and butter with PostMap. You can basically design and create different blends and textures and meshes together. It's really kind of interesting how a lot of these can kind of get close together. Let's move the feathers back a little bit more. You also have the ability to adjust the stuff on the fly in case you're like, hey, I'm not really feeling this kind of green, or maybe I want to add more bands to it. You can just go and add another band and load a completely separate texture and keep that green. And of course, you can also adjust that one too if you want to. But keep in mind, if you do add a band, you add a band for all of them, so you're gonna have to go through it and add a band for each one. So let's go back over here and go back to 3. So let's say you have all your nice little biomes and textures where you want them. You can also save your entire biome section. So let's do 221 here and just do that in downloads. And I'll X out of here. Oh, I'm going to go back to Unity in a second because that goes down later in the tutorial. So I'll go back over here. We're going to load up that entire texture set we just had. So it should be under downloads, 221. And don't click up the custom color one. That's just to help data parse out correctly. And as we can see that our stuff shows up just fine. So you can actually get rid of the adjustments even after loading because it keeps the original image in mind. You can reset it individually by clicking on Reset All, or you can click on Reset All Adjust to go through the entire biome set and reset everything on the adjustments. You can add and remove biomes and change their names by double clicking. So if you want to add new interesting biomes, you're free to do so. I'm going to remove that biome for now. And you also have the ability to bulk load bands. So let's say I want to have 20 or 30 bands and I just don't want to click individually all the way over the place. Sorry, I just had a Coca-Cola. I can just click on 1-3, which will load the first, second, and third band here. And let's just click a random picture in the example. That's such a nice example. Or I can just go and load up only specific ones. So I can just load up only 1,3. So this will only load up 1 and 3. And I can also go back over and click Shift again, and pick which ones I want to load up. And that'll load up these bands, only 1 and 3, individually. Okay? And it's just a very easy way to get around on making these bands and loading them in because to load them in is a little bit easier. You can also change the color of your biomes as well. This takes in play when you're doing your painting. That's pretty much it for that. Let's talk about our About section. If you want to read it, feel free. It's got some small information about the tool. The layouts, if you want to go in and not burn your eyes, you can go to dark mode. I'll keep it on dark mode for you people, just to make it a little bit easier. I may have to switch back to gray in case anything's not looking like it should. So we have our wonderful biomes loaded up. We're going to go into our first section of tools. They are a pair, tile map mode and tile map mode blended. So this is a tile section here. Let me go over to tile map tab here, and you can determine how many rows and columns you want, or if you use 32 grid size, or 16 or 64. And you can easily paint on your biomes really quickly. And I keep this low res mode to keep it really nice and neat, especially for lower spec computers dealing with massive lag. Okay, let's make a little bit of ocean in this corner here. We're gonna see how this looks in the blended section, and you can see that it's built out this entire thing that I was tiling out into the actual texture mixtures they are. This also has a few other options to shuffle to get the exact type of noise ratio you want. You can do a few other options here, whether you want it more blended or less blended. You can also do undo and redo for painting. You can paint in here, but it's going to lag a little bit more because it's just simply dealing with more textures. That's why I keep the low res mode to tile things really quickly, and it's kind of useful that way. So let's talk about Texture Maker. Let's pull up a texture. Let's go up to downloads, tutorial. We're going to get rid of all of these because we're going to make a new one. I'm going to bring up what a texture looks like that I have here. Let's load up all of them. Skip. So this is a 128 by 128 texture that is tiled out into different sections. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I found that kind of tedious. So what I am doing right now is, let's say I want to make a 128. You can also do smaller sizes if you want, but I use 128. I can simply devise a new texture by painting really fast, just one tile of it. Perfect. That's the best texture I've ever seen in my life. We're going to go to downloads, and we're going to download this as example 1.png. And we're going to take this this texture we have here. This will go into a further section later when we go to Paint Islands. We're going to click on Texture Maker. We're going to add the files, and you can batch load these as well. If you have a bunch of just random textures, like if you have a file of 300 textures you want to just spread out evenly, you can do so with output size in mind. You can just highlight and say, hey, I want all these textures uploaded at once, but we're just going to do this one. And then we click on an output folder. We'll just pick downloads. And then we're going to run the batch. And with this, our textures should be all lined up as it should be. And we can use this into our lovely loading and have it blend in. So that's kind of what that texture maker there is for. And we're going to move on to the other part of our tool, the paint biome map. Let me undo this and go back to having a normal texture. Let's do 1, 2. 2 is fine. Maybe 1, because I'm going to have to show this a little bit later. We're going to go into our paint biome map. This is huge. These are all individual subcells, so think about a bigger scale of that tile map mode earlier. These are all tinier pixels in giant, massive amounts of chunks. And this can lag for lesser end computers, but there is a way around this. I tried to reduce lag as much as I can by doing a few little tricks. But for Windows 4 map, this is quite killer. I'm going to pick over to a lighter layout because it's kind of a little bit hard to see some of the top stuff up here. Well, we're going to go through and show you can paint stuff. Pretty simple, right? It gets easier when you get up close, so it doesn't load the entirety of everything. So lag definitely goes a lot less when it's up close. A little bit more so when you're, a little bit out. I have this little spatter where it's kind of skipping a little bit when you're a little bit further out for a reason, because it doesn't lag out as bad if you just try to load or just load so many subcells with a different biome. Let's Control Z all this back out and talk about our lovely island generator. So this is our island generator, V2, because V1 sucked. And we're going to use this to generate random islands. For this example, I'm going to actually lower the amount of grids we have here. So I'm going to make those 2. Keep it kind of easier, more manageable. And we're going to generate an island. So what this did automatically is that it just generated 3 islands, because I have 3 islands here. And it used a random amount of weight, so they're all weighted the same roughly, to fill those islands. I just have to actually remember to put the coast to be the actual coast. So it's default on plains, but if you put it to coast, it should actually show up on your coast biome. Well, coast, coast. Unless you press cancel, besides okay. There we go. So our coast shows up. You have different weights here. So say if I make the size of the island 300 and I make this 150, this second island is going to be 150 radius. Patch scale and clumpiness plays with how the generations will kind of work a little bit as well. And you can decide if you want to have any influence on where these direction of these islands go. So if I put these 2 at center, they can kind of combine with each other. You can kind of see where it starts to combine here. It's a little bit more straight, not necessarily as fully blended in. And then you have the third island here at the top left. You can have control over the amount of islands you want. If you want a lot of islands, you're just little. You can control how big they are, how much spacing they need to be with each other, the width of the coast that you have, so you can have bigger coasts, sandy areas. And you can go inside and actually control the weight of what the biome is going to be. So let's say if I have 70 on plains and then 20 on mountains, we're going to see a lot more plains. I'm going to get rid of these other 2 islands here. So let's delete these. I'm going to copy the settings here. We're going to see a lot more plains than we will see the other biomes. They're all center, so they combine the 3 islands together. I'll just put that one at random. So there's also a few other things in here as well. Mainly is lake and is inside. So let's say I want to do pink sand inside of mountains only. Okay. And then I can do lake inside of pink sand. And then I could do the coast inside of lake. So you can kind of do this like insideception, kind of like where you want to have something inside of that, and then inside more to give it more complex biome generation. And you can kind of see here that's the mountains, followed by pink sand, followed by lake, and then coast. And it's just interesting. It's one of the easier ways to get more interesting mountain ranges if you have different sections of biomes that have like a peak compared to other outliers, you know. And then the other one's going to be is lake. So let's turn lake no longer inside, and we're going to make it actually a lake. Go to lake settings, and we'll make it coast is the shore, and then you can pick the width of the shore. And when we apply this, it should make a ring. So that's the lake, and you have these coast rings, and you can have little ponds and water. And then that's pretty much it for the island generator. It's pretty simple, not too much to talk about. We can actually go and apply a jitter to give it more randomness and then smooth that out to have even more random generation. A road singleton is just a tool to get rid of small one subcell areas that's been surrounded. See how it filled together to make sure it's not looking too terrible. Noise fill is just filling with random biome noise. And you can save your entire paint biome project over here with your islands and stuff if you want to go back and work on it anywhere. So you can just save this as T1T LO09 or whatever. Save that under downloads. And when I go to load this all back up, they exit out of that really fast. It'll show up as well. So I'll go into load back the painter config. Everything's here. But there is something that I have to let you know. It was a 4x4, so it's not going to fit the 8x8. Is don't forget to actually upload your texture set as well if you X out, because that's going to be all your information. So let's talk about the chunks. So let's make an island. Let's go back over. It's going to be probably bigger islands. Yeah, this is huge. Let's actually cut this down to a 2x2. Then redraw the island. That's fine. We're going to click on generate chunks. So what generate chunks does is it basically takes each of these sections and it's going to separate them into different PNG files. So just test island 22, and we'll select a folder there. We're going to open it up and kind of watch it generate in there. Go over to downloads, test island 22. It's downloaded a few different things here. It's downloaded a legend and grid. And the grid stuff is very important because it deals with biome information, which goes into Doge tile editor. And that's going to be very important, which I'll bring up last, basically. But if we click on this, we'll actually see all the biome areas kind of mixed together. I don't have all these nice looking pretty, see all this like orange and stuff. I just put some random colors in there. But you can have kind of a bigger section of map, and you can combine all of these into one map itself by clicking the Stitcher tool at the top, and then clicking on the folder you just downloaded everything into. And it's going to manually stitch that entire map together to kind of give you an overview of what it looks like. Pretty simple. This also is very useful if you just want to say like use just one or two biomes as well, rather than just going the island section. You can make really interesting material looking stuff. So if I put plains here and I make this into a giant brush, right? Kind of just cover this all in the plains biome. And then I will get rid of the old stuff here. Let's go to download, test island 22. Cross every bit of this out, and we're going to generate one more time. Should be done, and then we'll click on the stitcher, and then we'll just do the same thing. All right. It'll give us a massive amount of area that's all blended nice together, just like you would with the biome. And that is actually very interesting if you want to make giant, expensive 8x8 or 100x100 grid chunk systems, because you can do that with smaller subcells. The smaller the subcells, the more chunks you can have, because it's just less information that's not going to crash out as bad. I kept a cap on the subcell amount with the amount of chunks you want to do. So if you decide to do like a 8x8, you could do 352 by 352 chunks here. And that is a lot of chunks. So let's go back over to, yeah, well, you kind of get the point. The last thing I want to talk about that I skipped over earlier was the tile map section. You can export a few things. Okay, so you can export this first one that says sprite.sheet PNG is this. It'll export the same colors and just the PNG of what these colors are, in case you want to use them for a specific reason. If you want to highlight or put a grid underneath of whatever this is. And then there's the export tile map blended PNG, which will export your tile map here. You could also control the export scale, but it's going to affect how the noise generation will look, so it's not going to look probably a perfect 1x1 of how the picture will be here. And then most importantly, there is this thing called Save Blended JSON. And this is where you get all your biome data, and why biome data is so important. The biome data is something you can take into the Doge tile editor to help with placement generation for your tile sheets. And we're going to go over to that tool right now because that's pretty much it for the PostMap tool. We're going to skip over to the Doge tile editor and we'll talk about that right now. Okay, welcome to the Doge tile editor, the second tool in this crazy system. So the Doge tile editor is a basic tile editor where you can actually put down your tiles. It also has generation rules that follow biome data, which I'll show you a little bit about. And it also ties into a few cool things with Unity to instantly generate this into Unity with prefabs, which is amazing. And kind of why I have all this tool stuff planned out because I just really want to streamline some of this process for this game I'm making called Pod or Pondfall. I haven't decided a name yet exactly. Just still want to work towards it. So first things first, you're going to notice a few sections. You're going to notice on your right side a tile sheet slice and tabs where we're going to load our first tile sheet. So let's go to downloads. And we're going to load our tile sheet down, which these are 32 by 32 tiles. Technically they're 16 by 16 scaled up by 2, but that doesn't matter necessarily. You can highlight and drag over and place these like you would normally if you want to just edit things through. Same with any of this stuff. You can drag and place. The only issue is if you try to drag and do a multi-tile, it's not going to be as kind. There are a few hotkeys here that you can use for interesting tools in case you want to do things like rectangles or lines. Looks a lot better with the smaller stuff. You can also rotate the tiles, but these won't load in rotated on your Unity file later. But if you just don't need to do that whole Unity biome thing I have, you can just rotate it as you want to with R. And that's pretty much it for that. We're going to move on to the next thing. Is the most important thing, I think, is tags. Tags are important because you can decide and declare things on this tile sheet as a tag. So we're going to add a tag called tree. And then we're going to add this tree as 1. So this entire tree is tag 1. Oh, sorry, I'm going to rotate this over. It's considered tree semicolon 1 or just tree 1, okay? And this is important for our generation stuff when we want to go place things. We're going to add a few more tags here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we have that all nice and placed out. All right. Something important to talk about is we're going to load our base map. After we finish our lovely base map inside the tile map blended, or if you want to finish a base map inside of your island biome painter, you're going to load that base map up down here. So I have a test one here called This Is My Map Test, which loads one of those base maps I made. It doesn't have any biome data to it yet. So it doesn't know which ones are mountains, which ones are plains, and which ones are oceans. So we're going to go load up the biome data by clicking Edit Biomes. And we're going to import the biome data, which is biome 333 here. I've already prepared this beforehand. You can see how these colors are a little bit harder to see. I'm just going to change the color for that, just so it's a little bit easier. Sometimes that can get mixed up. That's why I have the color wheel here. But this is the exact biome data for the map we have here. As we can see, we can also change this as well. So we can make this back into plains. And the up here is mountains, but I'm just calling it CCA for now. You can decide to add, remove, rename, import, or export any of these. And you can also look a little bit closer on the base map as well. Well, it takes a second to load up the base map there because it kind of freaks out a little bit. And you can verify as you're going through, hey, these are actually the ocean tiles I need to look through. So scroll this back over, and I can just easily have a quick look as I'm editing if I need to fix anything or if I want to place anything down. Now, I just talked a little bit about this and why is this so important. This, under Show Biomes here, as you can click this, you can see how this all looks together, is important because you can use rules. And these rules And these tags come together to do something that I really desperately wanted a lot of other things, like other tools, could do. But it can place down tiles for you in a lot of different ways with all these different rules. So, for example, must be on biomes. Let's do plains. Okay, all this green section is plains. We're going to add a few trees. So let's add 10 trees. Total placement's 10. And I won't put anything there. And let's see what happens in plains. You can generate from there or from here. But we'll notice that all of these placements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, are all on the plains. They're not in the ocean, they're not in the mountains, they're not in CCA. And no matter what I do here, they're never going to be on those. Because I put must be, they must be on that. And there's going to be a lot of other different rules here too. Like allowed on biome. So if I make two things allowed on biomes like plains and mountains, they're never going to be in the oceans. They're never going to be in the CCA either. But they're going to definitely be over in the mountains and the plains only. Okay. The next rule in here, let me X out of all these by pressing Control Z, is cannot be within tiles. So what this does is it spaces out your objects within 4 tiles from each other at the minimum. It looks more easily noticeable when you do things like 300 placements. It's not going to place any closer than the 4 tiles roughly. But the problem with this is if you keep generating over, it's going to ignore the rule. It's not necessarily a problem, it's the way it's designed. Mainly because it doesn't read in the stuff that's already been placed down. So just keep that in mind when you're doing the cannot be within so many tiles. The next one's going to be must be within, and we're going to expand this out a little bit here, biome percent. That is a redundant rule. It's not used currently. I would just ignore it for now. I have to take that out later. Must touch biome edge. This is actually kind of important if you want something going over the edge of your biome. So we'll click ocean. It's going to only touch or must touch the biome edge. So we're going to make the bleed 0 and show you an example of what this looks like by just putting a smaller 5. 5 is good. Oh, I didn't talk about this. Your assets down here. If I put 5 here, or if I put 5, comma 4, it'll only spawn in the 4th and 5th tag. If I leave it blank, it'll keep all of them in mind. But if I only want 5, it'll only spawn in this rock here. So if I generate this over, it'll line the entire ocean biome, its edge. So it must touch the biome edge of ocean. And if you click on bleed, what bleed does is it also can bleed into the biome itself. That's pretty much it for must touch biome edge. The opposite is must not touch the biome edge, and then you can decide, hey, I don't want it to touch anywhere close to ocean, and it's going to obey that. It's never going to be within 3 tiles of that biome edge. It's going to hate that. It's going to be like, why are you trying to put me there, you know? Then there's only an empty cell and not an occupied cell. These are rules that are used to make sure you don't occupy other cells by layers. So if you want to have the other layers down here, you can make this under details or decals or add more layers. That's what's going to generate on is whatever the selected layer is. But that just keeps in mind of the other layers, or should. Only every nth cell is, so like if I do like every 9th cell, it'll only generate every 9 cells. You can see how I just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So just keep that in mind. Let's Control Z out of that. Only inside rectangle. Okay, so this makes a box in the middle. There are useful applications for this, probably more so with the excluding of the inside of rectangle, in case you want to make like a boxed out area, you know. Same with circle, only inside circle. That's going to make a circle. Could be kind of interesting with flower biomes if you want to make like a fairy circle. And then the exclude inside circle will paint everything outside of that circle. Sorry, I've been having a lot of Coca-Cola. I apologize. And this is my second take of this entire video. I ran through it once already before, but unfortunately, I realized OBS was zoomed in all the way and I couldn't see anything when I was talking. So, then there's the random seed if you want to have specific seeds. I'm kind of losing my voice. But the most important rule here, I think, and the coolest one, is uses tile at random weight. So you must have at least 2 of them to work. Okay? So this will be back to 0, and we'll put this as 0. What this does, okay, is if you say, I want this tree, this big tree, okay, but I only want it to spawn 5% of the time. I'll give it a weight of 5. And because it's tree 1, right, I will go to I, and then click on 0, and then make that a 1. Okay, so this will spawn with the weight of 5. Okay, and let's say I want this bush 4 is going to have the weight of 95. Okay, so this bush should spawn in a lot more than the weight of 5. Okay, and then I have to go down here and declare that 1 and 4 are active. This is very important. If you're going to say that you're going to use this system here, you must include the numbers down here and include those numbers only. Because if you don't do that, it's going to blend in with other assets and it won't work for the weights. But even with this, we should see very few of the big trees and a lot more bushes. So let's click on generate and see what happens. As we can see, it is a ton more bushes than there are trees. It has overswamped them completely. And this is kind of a very interesting thing. You know, if I make this, say, like 1, you'll find even less trees. Or if I make this also like 50, you'll find it with more trees. So it is a very awesome little tool, and a little bit of description is under help. That'll give you all the rules information and the IJD explanation as well. You can click on this as well if you want to equalize the asset percentage. Okay, so we went over the cool biome settings and rules. You can have different scenes as well. So if I want to make this random scene here, right, it can have its own biomes and it'll save everything perfectly. But we can save the entire project as a Doge proj or Doge proj by going and pressing save here, and then I'll make Doge proj 22 to 111. And when I load this back up, it's going to load up everything that we've done so far. It saves everything. It saves your biomes, it saves your tags, it saves your rules, it saves your placements. The only thing it doesn't save is undo and redo history. So be careful when you're needing to undo or redo things before saving. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the export section here. You can obviously change map grid, you know, if you want to add more or less, etc. We're going to put down some trees here. All right, let's put down these trees. And then I'm going to put down some rocks on a different layer, or I'll put these bushes down on a different layer. So with these different things, this will export only the current layer of the placed objects we have. So I'm going to do 001 here and just open that up to show you. This should only have the bushes laid out. So as we can see, it only has the bushes laid out. And this one will export the base PNG, so 002. So this exports your base map. In case you need it, if you lose it, if you deleted it for some reason, it can come back. Export overlay PNG exports all overlays. So all of your placed objects besides your base map will be this one. So you get your trees and your bushes in here. So all of them load up perfectly. And then export all layers basically takes your base map into account and loads the entire image. Okay. Going over here, let's go back to scene 2, okay? You can create, if you decide that you have your own personal maps, but you still want to take advantage of the generation tools, click on create new down here, and this will create a new biome for you. And you got to go to edit biomes to actually edit into these. But you have to make sure when you're filling out these things, you have to actually put at least 1 pixel down for it to save after you add your biomes in. So let's just say Joe, and you can paint your maps that you made before. Whether they're personal maps, you just want to have a generation tool. This is what this is used for. And then you could use this just like you would the other one. And all the generation stuff will work for it just fine. Okay, before I continue any further, for those people who like placing down objects, but you feel like this tile sheet's too small down here, let's scroll up a little bit. You can undock your tile sheets, and for some people, this is a pretty big deal. So let's load in another tile sheet here. I'll have to load it in. Well, that's weird. There we go. So you can dock it and paint with your tile sheets as you like, and you can also collapse the buttons here, so you have a more clean area to paint. And then you press expand bottom to return and get all your stuff back as you like. Okay, that's pretty much it for that. And we're going to move into our Unity section. So let's go back to scene 1. We have all our nice little things placed down. We're going to, if you need to, I would recommend this, is you take your tile sheet, you tag them all out, you click export tag PNGs, and what this does, okay, go to downloads here, go to new, we're gonna make a new folder here, export 11, okay. We're going to export all PNGs of these tags. So this whole section right here is one PNG. It'll be called tree 1. This will be tree 2. This is tree 3, tree 4, tree 5, tree 6. So export the PNGs. Go to export 11, select folder. It'll save all of my tile sheets out individually into the appropriate sizes they're supposed to be. So right here, this is a 32 by 32, and the tree one's going to be 64 by 96. So everything's perfectly all sectioned out for you in preparation for the Unity section. We're going to look at our biome one more time. See our biome is there. We're going to go into our export Unity JSON, and this is going to save all of our placed objects. Okay, so this is going to save our trees and our shrubberies and where they're supposed to be placed. We're going to put that in export 11. I'm going to just show you that you can also export out your biome stuff. We're going to put that also in export 11 again, so you can get a copy of your biome. And then you can export the actual Unity script for building out these levels as well by clicking the export LV Unity script and put that export 11. And with that, guys, we are ready to put this entire map into Unity, and we can do so fairly quickly. So that's what we're going to do next. Let's go to Unity. It's a brand new section of Unity. I haven't done anything to it yet, but we're going to actually just kind of put all this stuff in here for now. So let's go to our downloads. Let's go to export 11. Take all this stuff and put it in. All right. The first thing we're going to do is, since we just put in these objects, these trees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we're going to have to turn these into actual sprites. For people who are not familiar with Unity at all, I'm just going to make this real simple. I would click your first tree and then hold shift, and then click your last tree. We're going to change a few settings here on the right side. First thing, we're going to make this, instead of a texture, we're going to make this, instead of a texture type a default, we're going to make this to a sprite 2D and UI. And then we're going to click on sprite mode is single because it's not an animation. We can make animations later, but we don't have to worry about that at the moment. And we're going to, most importantly, put bilinear to no point filter. The reason why we do that is because it blurs very heavily with bilinear, but it makes it nice, crispy looking with point no filter. So we'll apply this, and we've just made all of these trees into sprites. And then we're going to drag them, we're going to drag these individually into our game world here as objects because we're going to make these into prefabs. So as we can see right here as well, the object's nice and crisp looking because of no point filter. But if I turn that into going back into its stuff over here and give it into bilinear and apply, it starts to blur. Okay, so we're going to put all our trees in. Tree 2, tree 3, tree 4, tree 5, tree 6. What I would do early on is just I would set order and layer to 1 so it'll overlay the base map we have to put in. Because if they're all matching the same order and layer and the same positioning, they're going to freak out. And I'll show you the difference of that in a second. So these are all prepped. We're going to bring them back inside of our section here, and they've become prefabs. Normally you would have a prefab folder. You can right click and create a folder and put a prefab folder if you want to put them in there, but I'm just doing this as an example real quick so it's just easy to see. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to need the base map itself. So we can actually go back over here. We're going to export the base map into our export 11 folder and just call that base map 22.1. And we're going to upload that to the folder. Same thing with the other ones. We're going to make it into a Sprite 2D UI. Single, and then no point filter. And we are ready. With this, we should be pretty much ready to go. I may need one more thing for the biome section, but this should be fine. So we're going to go to the hierarchy and click once with a right click and click a create empty game object. Okay, we're going to assign the Doge Unity map loader script to the game object. And it's going to have a few different sections we're going to have to fill out here. The first thing we're going to need to fill out is our map JSON. So we're going to click on our map Unity here, which gives us the exact coordinates of the objects we have here. So we'll click over here. We'll put that under map JSON. And we're going to click on our biome JSON. This is not mandatory, but if you want to use biomes into Unity, which will give it a little bit extra things to do with code, I would suggest doing so. So we see that this is our biome JSON here. It's got all these nicely put out. Let's go to our game object. We're going to put that in. All right. Now the biome tile prefab, okay, is just a single image. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to make a 32 by 32 white square. And then I'm going to save that in to our export 11 and just call that the tile prefab. And that's going to be for our biome showing up in a second. And I'll show you why. So once again, let's put that in there. We're going to make this into a 2D sprite, of course, same as always, single. We're going to make that into a no point filter. You may have to install the 2D sprite package. I always do, just because, you know, it will bother me later on, especially. So I would just install that quick package there. It'll probably ask you. Sorry, I was drinking more Coca-Cola. All right, perfect. So this is all set up how we want it to. I'm going to make it into a prefab as well. All right, now that it's a prefab, we're going to go back over to our game object. Okay, and we're going to put in our tile prefab. All right, biome styles is empty. So in order to get our biomes ready, we need to scan the biomes with JSON, which will read in the various biomes we have here. CCCA, Plains, Mountains, and Ocean. And we are done. All we have to do is click on the three dots up here again and click Build Level from JSON. All right. As we can see here, our biomes have taken, because of the game object here, I put it as a layer sorter. So let's take out the biome area here. These are all individual biomes here. But what I'm going to do real quick is just hide these. So let's hide all the biomes. Game objects. Oh, that's interesting. Hold on. Must have did something wrong here. Hold on. I apologize. Like I said, it's kind of late. So let's put all this stuff back here. I'm going to skip the biome section here. And we don't need it. And I'm going to put our base map sprite. Maybe it's because I didn't load the base map sprite. That's probably what it is. Yeah, okay. I see what's going on here. Okay. My bad. That was my bad, guys. I must have messed up here. So let's go delete that. Let's go look back at this. Oh, I see what we did too. I'm sorry. The placement folder. It's all, usually I keep a folder called tile prefabs, but it's going to be in the assets folder. Just because I didn't actually make that extra folder. That's on me, and I didn't add a base map either. So that's exactly why the build section didn't build out properly. It should build out now. Okay, my apologies. I keep forgetting about the placement folders. Make sure your placement folder is lined up to where your prefabs are, wherever you like to keep them, and then make sure you actually load up your base map. So this is the exact one-for-one map we have in our editor. And the cool part about it is they're all individual parts. So in here, you actually have your trees all labeled out nice. And if you want to do fancy code things with them, you absolutely can, because they're interactable as objects. Whenever you put your code in there, of course. That's the beauty of prefabs. And underneath all of this layer here, and this is the really cool part I like about it, is I like the biome data. Because the biome data is going to be a very interesting... let me put the biome back in. Let me actually put this prefab back in here. I was the one messing up the whole thing before. It should load it in properly and build the entire level. This is where the sorting layer thing happens again. You should put this all in sections. So the biome data can be like layer 0 for this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make that into a layer 0 kind of thing, so they won't show up. And you can kind of overlay them in sections. But that is pretty much it for the Doge tile map editor and the Post Map tool, and how you can bring everything in Unity. It's a very simple and hopefully easy tool to use to make. I don't have a lot of time in life to do much at the moment because I'm just constantly working and trying to pay bills, because paying bills is, it's kind of rough. And I just really wanted to make this to make it a little bit easier to maybe hopefully make a game one day, and it's definitely a dream of mine, and I hope I get there, a step at a time. But besides that, guys, this tool will be free. Don't ask for donations on itch either. It's meant to be free. So enjoy. I hope you find good luck with it, and I hope you all enjoy it. And if you guys ever have any questions, just reach out to me. Usually a good way to contact me is over Discord. RPGDev is my Discord. It should be name is Jen. The name should be Jen. Just add RPGDev. Or you can just find me through YouTube or itch.io. And with that, guys, thank you guys for coming. And that's pretty much it for the tools. I hope you guys have a wonderful time, and I'll try and update them as I go. And hopefully we all get a little bit closer to our game dev dreams. Have a good day, guys.